Hello chess lovers, Suren here with another very interesting game for you. 10-year-old Samantha Edithso is considered to be one of the brightest young talents to emerge from Indonesia in recent years. And in this video I decided to share with you her recent game played at 2018 Batumi Chess Olympiad. In round 9, the women's team of Indonesia faced Ecuador team, and now let's have a look at a game played between Samantha Edithso and Paula Sarmiento Robles, who is a women's FIDE master. Samantha Edithso had white pieces and she started the game with e4, e6 by Sarmiento Robles. Black goes for French defense, d4, d5, knight c3, knight f6, and e5. White goes for Chinese variation, knight d7, f4, c5. Of course, all this is a standard stuff in French defense. Queen d2. Looks like that white is preparing castling queenside, but in the game we will see that Samantha Edithso had completely different ideas. Bishop c5, bishop e2, knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, b5. Black is starting an immediate advancement on the queen side and at the same time is preparing to flank to her bishop, bishop f3. Well, this move looks somewhat inaccurate. Usually white is not placing the bishop on f3 but is keeping it free for white rook to support the f-pawn. But in the game we see bishop f3, bishop b7. We see the exchange of dark squared bishops on c5 square and white castles kingside. Queen b6. Already there is a very nasty threat, that's why white played king h1. g6. Black is acting against white's f5 threat and is preparing castling kingside. a3, rook c8, knight e2. White wants to bring her knight on a more active square. Black castles kingside, knight d4, rook d8, c3. White is strengthening her queen side, a5. Meanwhile, black is preparing b4 and f5. Samantha Edithso wants to organize a quick attack, and with this pawn sacrifice, she's opening up the queen's diagonal. It takes f5 and g4. White is playing very aggressively, but is organizing her attack in the cost of weakening her king side. f4, queen takes f4, b4. While white is organizing her attack on the king side, black is counterattacking on the queen side. a takes b4, a takes b4, queen h6, queen c7, rook e1. The pawn on e5 was under attack, knight e4 and e6. White is using the fact that the pawn can't be captured because of this. Knight takes e6 fork. That's why after e6 black played rook f8. Now comes bishop takes e4, d takes e4 and rook e3. White is both preventing any possible unpleasant checks from the long diagonal and is preparing to bring her rook on h3 square, queen c4. Well, this is an inaccurate move which gives white advantage. It was better to play queen e7, and if rook h3 then f takes e6 and the h7 square is covered successfully and black is managing to gain a huge advantage. White actually has created too many weaknesses on her king side and black can successfully exploit those weaknesses, but in the game after rook e3 black responded with queen c4, which allows white to proceed with the attack. Rook f6, a very strong move, the idea of which is if f takes e6 then white can go for a rook sacrifice on g6. Now if h takes g6 then queen takes g6 and then rook h3 checkmate. Or after rook takes g6, if king f7, then again this won't help black king will soon get checkmated. Let's go back. In the game after rook f6 we see rook a8. Black is bringing her rook on this open a file to deliver some checks. Now comes e takes f7 check. Well, instead of e takes f7, e7 is stronger. If rook e8 then knight d6, a powerful move after which black is forced to give away her queen. Otherwise if f takes e6 then again rook takes g6 is winning on the spot, and after knight d6 queen takes e6 of course white is managing to gain a winning position. But in the game after rook a8 we see e takes f7 check, rook takes f7, knight e6 and rook a1 check, which is a terrible mistake. It was better to play bishop d5, attack the knight. If rook takes g6 check then simply king h8 and white is in trouble. right now the threat is queen f1 checkmate, and looks like that there is no way to proceed with the attack. But in the game after knight e6 we see rook a1 check, king g2, and only now black played bishop d5. But the thing is that already the rook is not covering the 8th rank, and white will now successfully exploit the back rank weakness. In this position, Samantha Edithso made a move and black resigned. Can you find her next move? Ready? She simply played queen g7 check and black resigned. If rook takes g7, then rook f8 checkmate. A very beautiful way of finishing up the game, though there were a lot of inaccuracies by both sides, but let's not forget that Samantha is still 10 years old, and I'm sure that in a few years she will become a very strong player. Thanks for watching. Here are more suggestions for you. For more games, consider subscribing to my channel. I will see you in the next video.